Hi guys, it's Lanikia, and I am coming to you with season 3, episode 4 of the Handmaid's Tale, called God Bless the Child. Let's get it together. So all of the handmaids are walking because it's time for the baptism of the babies. So all these babies have been born, and it's time for them to get baptized and everything. So they're going to the I don't know if is it a church, a chapel, it's somewhere. It's this big, huge building that can hold them all. So so as they're going, so when the handmaid, everyone's walking in, so it's finally the handmaid's turn to go in, and they let them go by, if you've had a baby, you get to go in first, and you have the better seating. So June and of Matthew get better seating, and I was like, well, why is of Matthew going in with June? Like, because it's for better seating and everything. So why is of Matthew getting to go? And did she have a baby, or is it because she's June's walking partner she gets to go? So they so then they find June asked the question. She was like, have you had a baby or something? And Matthew said she's had 3, and I'm like, sis, that was a lot. She was like, she's had 3 blessings, or and I was miracles or something. And I was like, that's a lot of babies to have to give away. Like, they are literally, and I hate to say it like this, but that's what it is. They're just breeding her. They're literally breeding these women, having these babies, and she's had 3, so they've really been working on her overtime, and it's just like, dang. So then this is our first flashback of the season, I do believe. It comes in episode 4, and we flash back to when June, it was June, Mora, June's mom, and Luke all baptizing Hannah. And every time they show June's mom, she always drops something. Like on this one, she says they're gonna get us the religion. That's how they're gonna be able to take control of us, and everything. And then so she says that she, why do we have to baptize her, and with religion and everything. And Maura was like, well, they don't really look. They're not looking at me happy that I'm the fairy god. I'm the godmother. But anyways. So they just go back and show how different it was for June to when she was baptizing Hannah, and then, everyone is involved, and it wasn't a ceremony. It was just, you took your baby, with the priest and everything to be baptized. And so then we see, that she flashes forward again, and June is looking at the commander, and she's like, she doesn't know what she feels for him. She was like, it's not love, but it should be hate, but I don't hate him, but I just don't know what I feel about him, which I thought was interesting. Out of all these seasons, it's been 3 seasons, so it's not that long, but out of all these episodes, they're finally getting to the fact of, like, what does she really feel for him? Because I always thought she didn't like him, like it was like a hate, but I can't hate him because I have to use him. So I didn't know, but they do see her. June's whole aura this season is different anyways. It's like she's more confident. She doesn't care. It's almost like she does not care this season. So then we see of Matthew we see of Matthew's baby, one of her babies down there, and she did show longing, like she wanted that baby and everything, but she brushes it off, and she's like, we shouldn't, she brushes it off, and and just says, it's just a blessing to be giving the baby child to them. So June is just like, okay. So then we go back to Hannah's baptism, and we see that she gets baptized and everything. And then then we go so they're going back and forth, everything time something happens with that baby, they show what happened with Hannah, like the baby's head getting, how they pour the water and everything over. So they were just going back and forth like that. Then they speak of Nicole and pray for her after the baptism, and they're so happy that all the babies were baptized. Then they speak of Nicole and say, we're praying for her. We hope God is with her, and she's able to be returned safely and everything. So then we see Emily. So Emily is seeing her wife Sylvia for the first time since this whole thing started, and she's finally free, so they get to actually see each other for. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not really into this story. I know a lot of people like Emily because of they loved her on another show or other things she's done. I'm not feeling this story. I've never liked the Canada storyline, but it is what it is. So anyway, so she meets her for the get to see her for the first time. So then we see Aunt Lydia is in pain, and Janine so we see Aunt Lydia's in pain, and June. So they're riding to the Putnam's house because they have invited them over after the ceremony, the baptism, to come and celebrate everything with them. And they invited only the handmaids that have had babies. So June is just like, I was just checking on you, see if you're okay. And Aunt Lydia was like, just mind your bit, like y'all just make sure y'all don't act up when we get here. And she tells Janine, what I tell you, what are you gonna be? And she was like, a good girl. Because you know how Janine is childlike, but she's like, I'm gonna be a good girl and everything. So they go into the Putnam's home, and Mrs. Putnam comes out and she tells them to come, make yourself comfortable and everything. And she's friendly to June, and she's even friendly to Janine. And so she tells them, make sure yourself comfortable. And Aunt Lydia was about to go where the commanders and everyone was going, and she was like, "Oh no, this way." So they are invited, but they're in a separate room. So they're like, "Okay, you could come, but go on off to the side," because they don't get to eat or anything until after the food is all, the commanders and the wives and everything. Then they get to get like what's left over and stuff. So then we see Matthew says, the handmaid, she was like, we shouldn't be here. This isn't right. And June was just like, girl, go get you something to eat and stop all that and just eat and relax for a minute. Like, everything doesn't have to be like this all of the time. So she tells her to lighten up. And so as they go to the other room that is reserved for them, June stops and she's looking at the commander, and I'm like, sis, what are you doing? So they have her looking at the commander, and I don't know what she thinks. She still can't figure out what she feels for him. So as she's watching him, Serena Joy comes up, and Serena Joy is just like, how is everything? And she was like, oh, it's all, she tries to crack a joke. June tries to crack a joke about they're doing karaoke and all that kind of stuff. But then she tells Serena Joy, I didn't see you at the ceremony, and Serena Joy was like, she wasn't there because she didn't want like her presence to be a distraction where everybody would be like, oh my gosh, poor them. They don't have a baby to baptize. They had one, but that baby's gone. So then she tells Serena Joy, you didn't miss anything. And then June tells her that the wives look up to her, and that if she were to start a resistance with the wives, they would do it. And Serena Joy was like, they the last time I did something, half of them walked out, and Jim was like, but half of them didn't. So you still, you control some type of power, Mrs. Waterford. They admire you. You inspire them. And so then Fred comes over. And so June steps back, and he's trying to talk to Serena Joy, but she's not having it. She doesn't want to hear anything he has to say. And so then he tries to escort her into the room, where all the commanders and everyone, and she bypasses him. She won't even let him touch her, and everything. So then we see Emily is looking at the home, because now that Sylvia has brought Emily home to where Oliver, which is their child, where she and Oliver stay. So she's looking around and everything, and she's just grasping everything. So we find out Oliver's in school. He wanted to stay, but she sent him to school, and she tells him that, she tells Emily he has a crush on her, the teacher. And so then then Emily asks Sylvia, does he even remember me? So Sylvia takes Emily to Oliver's room, and she did a great job of like having pictures of Emily with him, just showing that Emily was there and that she was fighting to come back, because he drew it like a superwoman, Supergirl with Emily, of Emily and everything. So she's kept Emily like that she, even though she didn't know what happened to Emily, she didn't know what she was doing, if she was going to be, alive or not. She still kept the memory of her going. So, then we see Aunt Lydia is walking. And she goes and she sits down. And Janine comes out and she brings her some tea. And she said, I got it plain. Cause, yeah, I would expect her to like it plain too. So she brings Aunt Lydia some tea. And then Aunt Lydia, she tells Aunt Lydia, when I heard what happened to you, I was praying for you. So was everyone else. And Aunt Lydia was like, no, they wouldn't. And she was like, no, they were. Well, Janine, you were probably praying for her. These other handmaids were not. And Aunt Lydia was like, I know how they feel about me. I know they blame me for Emily. She said I should have left her in the colonies. And Janine was like, well, I'm glad you didn't leave me in the colonies. And Aunt Lydia was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't leave you too. It seems like Aunt Lydia always has had kind of a soft spot for Janine. She's tough on her because that's Aunt Lydia, but she's always had like this soft spot for her. So then we see that, the other girls, the other handmaids, are, so then we see that the other handmaids are all like, oh my gosh, look at, look at Janine. And June was just like, well, that's Janine. That's just her personality. She's gonna do that. And they were like, they're resentful. And of Matthew is like, well, Aunt Lydia is just doing her job. Like we're all doing what we have to do to survive, and it's the right thing to do and everything. And so June just walks around of Matthew, and she's getting her like a glass of lemon water and everything. And the commander comes in as the women are talking, and as the commander comes in, he tells the women, he pretty much kicks them out because he tells them, have y'all tried the deviled eggs? The deviled eggs are really good. And so he was like, y'all should go and try them. So the women all go out because, he pretty much kicked them out. And Jude tells him, we can't eat off the buffet. And he said, I'll deal with that. I'll deal with that later or whatever. So he goes and did y'all see where he put his glass down for some lemon water? And he didn't ask her. He just told her, like, give me some lemon. Like, he just did his little finger, like, and I was like, okay. No, but he didn't say, and also when he came in, he said, girls, he didn't call them women or anything. He called them girls. Just little stuff you see. But anyways, so he tells June that he pretty much he came in there to tell June, listen, I'm worried about Serena, but really he wants Serena back because honestly, she's the brains behind the Waterfords. Like, she runs things. And she always has. She always has been, the intelligent one. Like, not to knock Fred for anything, but she's just the one. Like, he would not have gotten as far as he has had it not been for Serena. So he's lost without her. And he's pretty much telling Jude, I need you to help me get her back. And Jude is like, well, what? Would you give her a voice? Would you give her a little bit more power? Behind the scenes, of course, but would you give that to her? And then she asks him, well, do you even know if she wants to come back? And he's just like, well, if I have to give up a little power, give her a little voice or whatever, just so she would come back and, make things the way they were. No, that's what June asked, make things the way they were. And she was like, well, does she want it that way? And so, but anyways, that's the gist of the whole conversation was June telling him, listen, if you want her back, you're going to have to give her more say so. Like, she's not the type of woman that you're going to just be able to put on the back burner. She was bored like that. That you knew that was never really her. So you're going to have to give her more of a voice if you want her to come back. And he reluctantly agrees to that. So Serena is smoking at the pool, so the next scene is Serena smoking at the pool, and June comes in, and it's an indoor pool that the Putnams have. And so June comes in and she sits down with Serena, and she tells Serena, I spoke to Fred and he wants you back. Like, he's lost without you. He wants you back, and you could use that to your advantage. And she was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, I told him that you wanted more, like, to have a voice. And Serena's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want him back. And June is just telling her, like, you got to go back with him because you can help us. Like, you can help the cause for all of the women if you just go back to him, because you can be, put on the dress and pull the strings, because, yeah, you have to get the power from being behind him. People won't know it's your ideas. People won't know it's you who is really, the brains behind all of it. But we got to do what we got to do. And so and then June like lays back in the couch, not in the couch, but in like the little pool lounge. And Serena gives her a cigarette, and they sit there and they smoke their cigarettes at the pool. So I don't know if June got through to Serena or not, but she told her. So then we go to Oliver, who has made it home, and actually he made it home earlier, but so Emily has met Oliver and everything, and he tells her that he was told he wasn't supposed to hug. I'm about to finish this Emily storyline out. So he tells her, I'm not supposed to hug you or anything, and she was like, until you're ready. And she said, how about we don't hug until we're both ready? And so then later on that night, Oliver is getting ready for bed, and he says he wants some water because he's thirsty, and his mom was like, no, because you'll have to pee in an hour. And he was like looking at her like, Mom, don't be telling her. And she was like, Emily knows you pee, she pees too. I hate that word, by the way. But he was like, don't be embarrassing me in front of her. But so then she starts to get ready to read him a bedtime story, and he asks Emily, could she do it for him? So she starts reading for him, and he because children don't have boundaries, and like they can get over stuff. So he slides up to her and everything, and it's just like normal. And Emily starts to cry, and Sylvia starts to cry, and then later on we see that Emily is like she's gonna stay at the hotel, even though Sylvia had kind of suggested maybe you could stay here, but Emily decides she wants to stay at the hotel, and so Sylvia is out on the porch and everything, and Emily goes and she sits by her and tells her, well, I'm not going to just leave just yet. And so they sit there, and I guess they're just trying to get together more, because they say it's awkward between them, and it is because Emily's been in a traumatic situation, and she's trying to make everything normal again, and now she's adding in that she has a family, and she's trying to make everything normal again with them as well. So that was the end of that storyline, y'all. Just closing that on out, because they kept flashing back to it, but it wasn't really much. So then after that we see June. So Fred is walking around the commander, where all the commanders are eating and being merry because of the baby. Well, not eating anymore, but really drinking and socializing. And she nods towards Fred like, yeah, I talked to Serena and she's on board. So he's like, okay. Now, Mrs. Putnam, and I don't know why she did this, Mrs. Putnam brings out the baby for everyone to see. So Angela comes out, and of course, Janine, y'all know how Janine feels about this baby because it's her baby. So Angela comes out, and Janine walks past June, and I'm like, June, you did a poor job of stopping her. But anyway, she walks past, she gets past June, and she wants to see the baby because they've asked the Waterfords, do they want to hold the baby. And Mrs. Waterford is reserved because she really doesn't want to, because she's missing her child. So Janine comes up and she tells the Putnams, may I hold her? And Janine's real sweet about it. She, she's over her little, where she was on the bridge in the first season. She's over all of that. But they ask her, she asks them, may I hold the baby? And they tell her yes, and they let her hold the baby. And everything is going good. Janine could have just walked away, but she didn't. She said, she starts telling them that she wouldn't mind giving them another baby. Now, the reason she's doing this because she wants to be in the house with her baby. And so here comes Aunt Lydia. And Janine doesn't understand, because she's like, I just want to be near, I just want to give them a baby, and I want to be near my daughter. And Aunt Lydia, to say she overreacted is an understatement. Like, she hit Janine. What was that? Was that an umbrella? Whatever it was that? It might have been her cane. It was an umbrella / cane. But she hits Janine, and she hits her so hard that Janine falls. Like, she falls to the ground. And then so June tries to go up to Aunt Lydia and stop her, but Aunt Lydia is in so much rage that she turns around on June and yells at June until June cowers down on the floor like, God dang, sis. So then she turns around, and Janine is on her hands and legs, and she was like, I just want to give them a baby. And Janine is on her hands and legs, knees, and saying, I just want to give them a baby. And June is like, please stop talking. But Janine is childlike. And so Aunt Lydia literally started beating this girl with that cane umbrella thing that she had. I don't know what she had because I was so busy. I watched that scene like 4 times because I was like, what in the world? Is that an umbrella? But anyway, so she literally starts beating Janine, and like no one does anything. They're appalled by it. Like the women turn away. Commander Waterford can't even look at it. And June finally, she's like yelling at them, stop her. Don't do that. Make her stop. And nobody is doing anything. So June runs and she lays her body on top of Janine to make Aunt Lydia stop. And she starts yelling at Aunt Lydia, stop it. And she yells, no, no. And so Aunt Lydia finally comes back to herself and realizes, oh my goodness. And Commander Putnam is like, get her out of here. So he gets Janine, and the soldiers come in and they pick Janine up off the floor or whatever. And she leaves out, and they're just looking at, like, everybody in the room is just looking at Lydia like, what in the heck? And I'm like, but y'all know she be doing stuff to these girls because, like, they be coming to you with missing eyes. They have burns on their, like, how y'all think she gets them in line and everything? Yes, she was overboard. She went the extreme, but is that more extreme than burning them or poking out their eye and all? Like, what y'all talking about? But I guess they just don't want to see it. You know what I mean? They want the girls obedient and everything, but they don't want to see how it's done. And so she stammers back and she's like, and she apologizes and says she's sorry. And then she kind of leaves the room because they're looking at her in horror. And she kind of like walks out of the room and everything because she realizes she's went too far as well. And then she gets into I don't know where she went in the house, but she goes and finds this like dark corner and she sits down and she just breaks down and starts crying. Now I've skipped my notes all up. I know I went, okay. So then they all are looking, okay, so they all look at Emily. Okay, so then Emily and Sylvia, I already finished them off. I'm sorry about this, guys. So then Serena tells June how she could see. So they're all leaving the Putnam's home, and Serena tells June like, oh my gosh, what a terrible ending to the party. And she was like, yeah. And she's like, I feel sorry for Naomi. Naomi is Mrs. Putnam. And she was like, Naomi? And Serena was like, well, yeah, I feel sorry for, both women or whatever. They've both been through something traumatic. And June is like, okay, sis, I got to go. Like, she started putting on her gloves and everything. And so she's walking out, and Serena, she's waiting on them to come get her. And she hears Serena walk up behind her, and Serena starts telling her that girls like June's daughter, like Hannah, would go to tells her they would go to this certain school, and every day around this time they would be out for recess, and maybe you could see her then. And so June was turning around to tell Serena thank you, and she's already gone. I don't know what Serena is doing. I don't know if she's going to put on the act of Mrs. Waterford, but in secret, like she did with June, really tell her, like, this is how you can see your daughter. I have no clue. They didn't even show Commander Lawrence this episode, so I don't know what she's doing. So anyway, Serena's happy about that. So then the next thing you see, they come in and they tell Putnam, where is Commander Waterford? And they say, he's in this way. What's going on? And June goes and she follows the soldier, because it's Gilead soldiers, the guardian that goes in and looks for Commander Waterford. And so there's a video of like the protesters about Chicago and everything. And Luke is on the video, and they realize he has baby Nicole. And so they're like, is that your baby? And they're like, is this Luke? Is his name Luke? I can't think of his last name, but is that Luke? And June is like, yeah, that's him and whatever. And so Serena's like, let me see the video again. And she was like, oh my gosh, she's gotten so big. And then June walks out of the room and she just holds the wall and just slides down and starts crying. And I'm like, June is just walking willy-nilly through. Because remember, it always used to be like she couldn't do anything. She couldn't walk anywhere. But now they have given her all types of freedom to just pretty much go wherever she pleases. because they didn't tell her to come in and watch the video. She just was at the door and they realized who she was and told her, oh yeah, you come in too, so we can confirm that this is him and he has the baby that that's missing. I think this is going to be a hot mess with this baby, and I hope the baby doesn't have to go back to Gilead, but I don't know. So anyways, the ending scene is shows Luke and June after the baptism and everything, and they're going to get something to eat, and as a family, and they're also happy. Oh no, the ending scene. Sorry, the ending scene shows Amora and Luke getting baby Nicole baptized, and they're going to, and they went to the priest who had baptized Hannah, and he was like, where's the mother? And they told her she was in Gilead, and so he went ahead and got her baptized and everything. But anyways, so that was the episode and everything. I do like June's little part, and I don't know, I like Commander Lawrence and everything, but I like it better when she's with the Waterfords. I guess because we know them and we know, the storyline is familiar. Emily's storyline I don't really care for, but I get it. You have to break it up so that you can enjoy your scenes with June and everyone. And I don't know how this is going to turn out with this baby, but we shall see. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Let me know what you think. Bye.